102, the total number of biblical verses. Yet these 3 or 4 verses have been used to oppress people and are actually really subject to interpretation. By legalizing gay marriage, it would give equal rights and opportunities to everyone in the United States.
So how do you figure these are basic human rights?
Well, we live in a country where our freedom was fought for and everyone deserves to live in the way that they choose. There's no law that actually states that 2 men or 2 women are not allowed the right to be married.
Okay. And what do you think gay families are more common today?
Well, that's a good question. Statistics show that people are more accepting of gay families each day that goes by. More and more gay couples are stepping up and they're choosing the right to make their families and do what they need to do to be accepted by the public.
Well, first of all, to refute your point on basic human rights, I would like to address the fact that homosexual couples already have the same rights as heterosexual couples. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all human beings were born free and equal in dignity and entitled to all the rights and freedoms without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other sex. Are homosexuals deprived of this right? No. They're just deprived of calling their unions marriage. And to address your claim of increasingly common gay families, children adopted by gay marriage will suffer from social harassment and developmental issues. According to Bruce Jellis studies in child development, same-sex households are not an optimum environment for raising children because children need both a mother and a father. Girls without a father are at higher risk of teenage pregnancy, and children without a mother are deprived of emotional security and unique advice that mothers provide. This House believes that the U.S. government should not legalize gay marriage in any state. Our basis for this argument stems from the following claims. First of all, marriage is not a right but an institution founded by the church. Second of all, accepting gay marriage weakens the institution and opens doors to other forms of alterations. Thirdly, legalization makes the struggle more difficult for homosexuals who would like to leave the lifestyle. Fourth of all, children adopted by gay marriage will suffer from social harassment and developmental issues, and finally, legal consequences would be just too costly. So let's begin by addressing the first of the 5 claims. Marriage is not a right but an institution founded by the church. The institution of marriage has traditionally and legally been defined as between a man and a woman. According to the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, marriage was established by the Creator with its own nature and exists solely between a man and a woman. Even the law defines it as such. In 1996, President Bill Clinton signed the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, for the DOMA, which defines marriage as legal union between a man and a woman. Gay couples still have the right to engage in civil unions, just not by using the term marriage in it. In accordance with this comes our second claim. Accepting gay marriage weakens the institution and opens doors to other forms of alterations, like polygamy and interspecies marriages. Glenn Levy, senior counsel with the Alliance Defense Fund, argued that the movement for polygamy uses the success of same-sex couples as a springboard for further weakening the marriage institution. So if I decide I want to marry 15 people or a cow, I should be allowed to do so? No, because that is not what marriage is. If the institution allows gay couples to start naming their union marriage, in the future they will have to accept any other form of alteration, eventually losing their identity. Thirdly, legalization makes the struggle more difficult for homosexuals who would like to leave the lifestyle. According to George Gilder in his book Man and Marriage, some gays are not helped by the aggressive gay liberation movement that wants to flush them out of the closet and into the street. They want to live quietly and in secrecy and are thoughtful enough not to inflict their problems onto others. So for those gay couples wanting to live in secrecy and have private relationships, legalization would not benefit them at all. It would hurt the very people they were trying to protect. Last but not least, the legal consequences of legalizing gay marriage would be too costly for the government. Gay marriage would entitle gay couples to typical marriage benefits, including claiming a tax exemption, receiving Social Security payments from a deceased spouse, and coverage by spouse's health insurance policy. The Congressional Budget Office estimated in 2009 that extending employment benefits to same-sex domestic partners would cost the federal government $596 million in mandatory spending and $300 million in discretionary spending between 2010 and 2019.
homosexual household will suffer. Don't you think the child is the only one who can make that statement?
No, because a child is not in the proper state of mind to make those kind of decisions for himself.
You said if gay marriage was legalized, some silent homosexuals wouldn't be able to stay completely private. But what concrete evidence do you have that the statement is true? How would these men or women be unable to stay private if they chose?
The gay brigade will force, due to community pressure, will force these homosexual couples to come out of the closet, and even if they don't want to, if they don't want to live in secrecy and privacy, they will still have to do that and engage in an openly gay lifestyle.
In response to gay marriage opening the door to other forms of alterations, people are going to choose what lifestyle they lead, regardless of if gay marriage is legalized or not. Gay marriage has nothing to do with other people's life choices. As for the cost of gay marriage within our nation, there is not enough research to prove that it would cost more for these people to get married, since it's not yet legalized in every single state. I understand your points on the church and marriage between a man and a woman, but I don't think one book should dictate the lives of everyone. Lynn Lavner states, the Bible contains 6 criticisms to homosexuals and 362 criticisms to heterosexuals. That doesn't mean that God doesn't love heterosexuals, it's just that they need more supervision. Gay people are normal, just like the rest of us, so why shouldn't they be able to lead the same lifestyles, such as being able to be married and raising a family? As for human rights, people in the United States have earned their rights for freedom. This country was built on the base of freedom, so why is it not being carried out? The Christian Law Journal states, denying same-sex couples the right to marry stigmatizes gay and lesbian families as inferior and sends a message that it is acceptable to discriminate against them. The Massachusetts Supreme Court wrote an opinion to the state Senate on February 3rd that offering civil unions was not an acceptable alternative to gay marriage because it is considered a choice of language that reflects a demonstrable assigning of same-sex, largely homosexual couples, to second-class status. I don't think it says anywhere in our Constitution that gay people are automatically brought down to a second-class status. There is no study or research that can specifically say a gay couple does not know how to raise a child or maintain a family. According to the Anthropological Association, the Executive Board of the American Anthropological Association found that more than a century of research has shown no support whatsoever for the view that either civilization or viable social orders depend upon marriage as an exclusively heterosexual institution. Rather, anthropological research supports the conclusion that a vast array of family types, including families built upon same-sex partnerships, can contribute to stable family types and humane societies. Same-sex couples deserve this partnership. Pro-Con says that the evidence suggests that letting same-sex couples marry would be a good public policy. Same-sex couples and their families will benefit, and the institution of marriage does not suffer. Gay couples' interest in marriage is a vote in favor of the ongoing prevalence of marriage in today's world, a change that should strengthen, not weaken, the institution. Going off of your modernization of the gay marriage, over the years, America has modernized in many different ways. The U.S. courts state, marriage in the U.S. is a secular and dynamic institution that has undergone several major transformations. Interracial marriage was illegal in the U.S. until a 1967 Supreme Court decision. No-fault divorce has changed the institution of marriage since its introduction in California on January 1st, 1970. Nancy Cott, Ph.D., testified in Perry v. Schwarzenegger that civil law has always been supreme in defining and regulating marriage, and that religious leaders are accustomed to performing marriages only because the state has given them that opportunity. The author of God vs. Gay sums it up in a quote. Religion is not supposed to be about looking up your answers in a book. It's supposed to be about thinking and contemplating and use of some discernment around real moral questions.
How do you think that is correct, that a child can grow up normally with two moms or two dads?
Well, how do you suppose a child grows up with one parent? Think of children who have been victims of divorce or who have lost a parent to death. They seem to grow up fine. There's no research that says anywhere that a child who grows up in a homosexual household can be harmed by that.
And then, how do you think it is corrected that in religion, gay people are allowed to be there?
Well, as we stated before, as Kat said in hers, there's over 31,000 Bible verses that refer back to heterosexuals. Give me the other 30,996.
In response to Katie's quote by Lynn Launer in her opening argument, the Bible prohibits gay tendencies and all of its consequences. It emphasizes this in the Old Testament. There might be 6 criticisms about homosexuality in the New Testament, but in the Old, there are more than 25 criticisms about same-sex marriage and homosexuality. I will begin with my first point. Children adopted by gay married couples will suffer from social harassment and developmental issues from embarrassment. History does have evidence of same-sex relationships. We see it in the artwork of ancient Greeks and Roman cultures, as well as referenced in literature by greats such as Plato. But even in the worldly society of ancient Greeks and Romans, and the Roman Empire, of whom our forefathers modeled our Constitution after, same-sex marriages with adopted children were considered taboo. As John Sutherland Bonnell quotes, "The moral of life of any people rises or falls with the validity or decay of its religious life." Children of gay married couples will never have the same opportunities that heterosexual parents can provide. The alternative lifestyle their caregivers have subjected them to creates a list of negatives in their lives, such as being exposed to the issue of uncommon and unnatural relationships that are not universally accepted. Living with this narrow influence of same-sex parents also limits the natural exposure of male-female relationships between a child and the heterosexual parents. The issue of providing the child with consistency and learning how traditional relationships communicate with each other in a family relationship cannot be replaced by a gay couple's association with normal parents. Situations such as these create emotional stress for the child, as well as the children, unfortunately, individuals interact with. Many parents do not want their child exposed to the gay lifestyle and the crowd that associates with it. Next, I will address how marriage is not a right but an institution funded by the church. Norms of society are universally accepted ideas that have been passed through time, tradition, and society's expectations. Dr. Stephen J. Haney states in his book, A Marriage Tale, that society can choose to endorse certain types of sexual arrangements and give support in forms of benefits of these arrangements. Marriage was created to allow society to support heterosexual couples and procreation, and societies can choose not to give the same benefits to same-sex couples. While it is true that every culture has its norms, no culture as a whole totally accepts the idea of gay marriage. It's considered a taboo. In the Holy Bible, the rules of society are recorded. These written rules and expectations stated in the Bible have guided the morality of our planet and have been followed for thousands of years. Our forefathers created the Declaration of Independence that this world values so highly on the basis of these religious beliefs. The founding fathers of this nation would be appalled to discover that in 2011, citizens of this country that they shed their blood, sweat, and tears for were trying to corrupt the true meaning of the Declaration of Independence. Our forefathers were Christians, which means that they followed the guidelines of the norms of society stated in the Holy Bible. The Supreme Court of Minnesota found that the institution of marriage as a union of man and women, uniquely involving the procreation and rearing of children within a family, is as old as the book of Genesis. Proponents of legislation of same-sex marriages should either create their own institution or settle for civil union. On December 20th, 1999, the Vermont Supreme Court ruled unanimously in Baker v. Vermont that same-sex couples were entitled to the same rights, protections, and benefits as heterosexual couples. And on July 1st, 2000, Vermont became the first in the United States to institute civil unions giving same-sex couples the rights as heterosexual married couples without calling it marriage, providing the legislator the opportunity to offer an alternative marriage such as civil unions. A marriage and civil union are not the same, but are appropriate to the situation and can be used to explain the type of relationship a couple has. I will end with this quote. Henry Ward Beecher said, "There is no true and abiding morality that is found in religion."
not true that every American, no matter what color or gender, has to have their basic rights.
Well, I said that people who are in same-sex marriages who have children are considered a taboo. And it's not about rights, because when considering a taboo, it's a moral prohibition of a certain action.
Okay. You also stated that children of gay couples do not have the same opportunities as children who are raised from heterosexuals. But how could you possibly know that? Can these two people of the same sex not give as much love to their child as the other two people of opposite sex?
Okay, well, it's not about giving love. That's not what I was trying to emphasize. What I'm saying is that it's basically, it's about letting an innocent child go without having a man and a woman of the opposite sex mother them and father them for them to be able to prosper in life, and just taking all of the influence that they have on them be able to grow.
Can we get 2 minutes of time for rebuttals, please?
Once again, this House believes that the U.S. government should not legalize gay marriage in any state, based on the claims that marriage is not a right, but an institution founded by the Church. Also, accepting gay marriage would weaken that institution further and make it lose its identity. Legalization makes the struggle more difficult for private relationships of homosexuals who would like to keep it that way, and adopted children will suffer from social harassment and developmental issues. Finally, legal consequences, like I said, would be too costly for our government. We strongly urge the American government to consider these dire consequences and to think of the future of our children in our country. Like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said, marriage between a man and a woman is the bedrock of society. So let's keep it that way.
Okay, so if gay marriage was not legalized, then this would reflect badly off the United States of America. As citizens of America, we are entitled to our freedom, and choosing to marry whoever we want is the freedom that should not be overlooked or taken lightly. Homosexuals have every right, as every other American, to marry the person that they love and want to spend the rest of their lives with. Putting them into a different category than heterosexuals is creating a stereotypical outlook onto these people. The most important thing is the connection in marriage and their love. It's not an object. It's not how it looks or sounds, but the emotion within it. An admirable quote from Harvey Fierstein says, "Never be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to be made a victim. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself." I find so much truth to this quote because many of us have been pushed into being something we're not, or into a life that we don't believe in, which is exactly what is happening to these homosexuals when we take away the right to love, or settle down with the person of their choice. Our nation has changed immensely throughout the years, and I have faith that our beautiful country will continue to change for the better. Legalizing gay marriage and breaking down these labels and stereotypes will help this process.
Like I stated earlier in my debate, while it is true that every culture has its norms, no culture as a whole totally accepts the ideas of gay marriage. It is still considered a taboo. Even our forefathers were Christians, which means they followed the guidelines of the norms of society stated in the Holy Bible. Which I stated earlier goes back to the book of Genesis. Not only that, but children of gay married couples will never have the same opportunities as that of heterosexual parents can provide. The alternative lifestyle their caregivers have subjected them to creates a list of negatives in the formative lives of their children. Even the state of Vermont has made a solution to where gay couples can live like they're married with civil unions. Why do we keep pressing on this matter when clearly the evidence my partner and I have provided shows that legislation of the same-sex marriage will not create a better and more traditional environment? It will create hostility towards citizens of the gay community and their personal lives.
I'd like to thank the negative for their thoughts and support on the issue of legalizing gay marriage. But I'd also like to know, how is it any different from saying you can't marry someone because you both have blonde hair? I think marriage is a way of showing love between two people. So if two men or two women are in love, why not let them get married? It is not harming you in any way. You're basically the only one who's letting it get to you, affect you. So why would it matter if it's not you who's the one getting married? The Baltimore Sun states, any rational person who's paid attention to the despicable acts of the church leaders sexually abusing children or covering it up over the years would agree that the Catholic Church is in no position to opine on the right of conscience. With our communities struggling with homelessness, poverty, and abuse, why are the bishops forcing on spreading lies about same-sex marriage? It's no wonder there are more people leaving the Catholic Church each and every day. Marriage is a union for two people to show their love for each other, regardless of what sex they are. I suggest if you don't like the current status and situation of homosexuals getting married, you need to highly reconsider changing your opinions as times are changing each and every day.
Join me in thanking our debaters. We do have just a few minutes to take some questions from our audience members on this extremely timely debate that we've got. A recent Gallup poll in October said that Americans are now 49% in favor of same-sex marriage propositions. We're reaching a critical mass point for this. If you have questions, you can direct them at either an individual or a particular team, or for our debaters as a whole. Yes, sir.
For y'all, how you said it would not be, or it would be negative for a child to grow up with, say, two moms or two dads. Would it also be negative for them to grow up in an orphanage? You said when they could get adopted by a gay couple.
Is your question, would it be the same? Would it be as negative?
I mean, would you rather grow